really don't know at this point, because I think this roster will look vastly different by the time we hit October. But the one piece we know, or at least we think will be there, is LeBron James, although there's a lot of crazies out there that think Jeannie Buss should trade him, which is, I'm not even going to go there in this episode. There's not enough time. Absolutely ridiculous. You have LeBron and whoever is around him, and then you have Vogel, Kidd, and some other assistants. It's going to be tough, because if that mix doesn't work, I think it's just going to be strain and stress right from the first week of the season this year. I just don't know that it's the right way to go. And I don't know what is the right way to go, but it seems like there's a lot of dictation happening, that the upper management is dictating, here's going to be your assistant. If I was a head coach, I'd want to build my staff. So I actually understand where Ty Lue is coming from. Well, why am I going to enter in as a head coach for 3 years with a guy like Jason Kidd, who, if things start going bad, I know that the Lakers are just going to push me out and put him in. Why would I want to sign up for that? I understand where he's coming from, and to me, this is just mess. It's just more mess on top of mess.
To your point, the report came out that the Lakers management basically wanted this to be a 3-year deal to limit LeBron's power. They wanted this coach to be in line with LeBron, because the knock on Ty Lue and why he got fired in Cleveland is he's not a guy that develops talent. He's a guy that can have a good roster and be able to coach that group to have success, but his specialty is not creating young talent and developing them. And I think the Lakers look at, okay, 3 years down the road after LeBron's deal, where are we going to be at that point? Is LeBron going to retire? Is he going to want to go chase rings with a better team? I think they wanted to mirror those contracts with each other. And the report was part of the reason they wanted to do that was if things went sideways with Ty Lue, they weren't locked into a 5-year deal paying it. It was a 3-year deal, which is much easier to swallow if they have to get rid of him. And it just would have given LeBron more power within the organization. This has the writing, Eric, and we talked about pre-show, where the Lakers could start out rough. They could start out through their first 25 games hovering around 500, or they could be grossly under 500 at that point. And Vogel is gone, and Jason Kidd is the head coach of this team, because that's what LeBron wants. This is shaping up to be on where Lakers go to their huddle. LeBron is not paying a bit of attention to Frank Vogel. He's over talking to Jason Kidd. And every time you see him, he's basically undermining Vogel by having a better relationship with Kidd, because that seemed to be the other guy that the LeBron camp wanted. It was either Ty Lue or Jason Kidd. And it seemed like the Lakers tried to make some kind of amends with him and negotiate this kind of a deal out to make everybody happy. But we've seen what LeBron can do to a coaching staff. He did it last year to Luke Walton. He was always with Brian Shaw. He was never around Luke Walton. It started to show with this team stop responding to Luke Walton. And if you're going to undermine a head coach like a Frank Vogel, that's not going to work. He's not a guy that has that kind of presence and that he brings all this championship winning experience with him. Yeah, he had some good runs with those Pacers teams, but he hasn't had a lot of success since. Actually, the Magic made the playoffs this year with a new head coach in Steve Clifford. So I don't mind the Lakers trying to limit Tyronn Lue's power. I also don't mind Tyronn Lue feeling like, hey, I'm being shorted here by not getting a decent deal. I mean, John Beilein just signed Monday to be the Cavaliers head coach and got a 5-year deal with no NBA experience. Ty Lue is a championship winning coach, so he probably feels validated in that. There's going to be other opportunities. He may see the Philly opportunity out there as a team that's already built that maybe he can go in and have success with and can have a better offensive plan than a Brett Brown does. So that's definitely going to be a story to watch. I think the drama is going to be in LA, Eric. I think they're going to give us plenty to talk about coming into the offseason, what moves they're going to make. And then as we start next year, how that's going to play out with a new coach. So we're bringing it back. It's lightning round time. Eric, we got to get out of here quick, but we got 2 more topics here to discuss. So the PGA Championship is this week. It'll be Tiger Woods' opportunity to win a second major this year. You picked him to win the Masters. Is he your pick to win at Bethpage Black?
He actually is not my pick to win at Bethpage Black.
Whoa.
I don't think he's going to play poorly, but I don't think this is the kind of course that really suits him. I think this is going to be a grind, and he will do well, being that it's a grind, but I just don't think it's going to be something that plays into his hands. This course is long and boring. And so I think for me, Brooks Koepka and Dustin Johnson are my favorites, particularly Brooks Koepka. So if I were going to be kind of putting my neck out there like I did with Tiger Woods winning the Masters, I would put my neck out there and say Brooks Koepka wins the PGA. Well, I have a lightning round question for you as well, Justin, because this past weekend, Saturday night, we saw a NASCAR race at Kansas Motor Speedway, an intermediate track that for the first time in a long time felt like the downforce aero package worked to the way that NASCAR had intended. I was very nervous at first because Kevin Harvick jumped out to a 4-second lead in the first 30 laps. But after that, did you like what you saw for the remainder of the race?
I actually did. I thought the end of the race, especially getting some of those late race cautions where we've talked about the fact that NASCAR's just kind of hit an unlucky part of the schedule where even last year when NBC took over, just so much drama at the end of those races, and they had some good racing throughout, but they could never get that close that they needed. And I thought the late race restarts they had inside 50 to go were really good, very entertaining, battles for the lead. Guys could run up on each other and catch each other. No one really ran away with it. You had some younger guys up there, some different names up there, and then Brad kind of took care of them with about 5 to go or so. So I felt like it was the best night for the package. Once you got Harvick out of there, it still seemed like when you have a guy that hits it, he can just run off and hide. He gets in that clean air, and they haven't been able to fix that. And then you're left with a lot of good racing, but it's 6th, 7th on back. Do people really want to tune in and spend their time to watch a battle for 10th between 3 cars? Yes, it's great racing, but is that going to fuel what you're looking for? So again, I think they're moving in the right direction, but they've somehow got to figure out a way to almost get the Cup cars similar to the Truck Series, where they just stay compacted longer. And I don't know if they've done that. And the other thing, Eric, that scares me is these cars seem so drivable now that these guys just don't ever get in trouble. They can run 4 and 5 wide, and the cars are just glued to the track. And you hardly ever see one of these guys get in trouble. That's why you just haven't seen a lot of cautions in a lot of these races because, yeah, guys might be better, but I think their cars are just, there's so much downforce on these cars and they don't have the horsepower. I just don't think they get themselves in any trouble. So I think they've made the cars easier to drive and they've reduced the speed and the horsepowers. They've got more center corner, but they also have a ton more downforce on them, just basically gluing them to the racetrack. That might be an area that they also need to try to figure out a way to find a better balance on.
Yeah, I agree. But I think that's, for me, one of the things that makes the racing really good right now. One of the things, as you pointed out about the Truck Series, is that now those guys do wreck a lot because there's a lot of young drivers who are just ultimately extremely hungry to win at that level. At the Cup level, I think you just have better choice making. You have a lot more on the line. But at the same time, I love the fact that the cars are so stable that they can go all over the place. That makes them extremely raceable, and it leads to this great passing with 3 and 4 wide. If they can just get the balance right to where it's not so clean air dependent and they've got these guys battling back and forth, the stability of the cars really plays into that for me, to where you get a lot of this great green flag racing back and forth without this constant spinning out and hitting the wall in these 1 or 2 car accidents that really slow the sport down. So for me, I think that's actually a good thing that the cars are stable and they can run all over the place, because you can see guys like Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson and others, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who are just crazy and they're willing to run it wide open all the time. And if the car will handle it, it makes for some pretty good on-track action. Well, that's going to do it for episode 246 of Talk Back. We covered a lot of ground up and down the hardwood, across the racetrack, and down the fairway. It's going to be an exciting week in the world of sports. We hope you stick with us. Make sure to hit us up on Twitter at @TalkBackFanTalk. We appreciate all of the comments, suggestions, and even arguments. The world of sports is always more fun when you talk back. We hope you have a great weekend. Thank you for listening to this episode of Talk Back. Staying current on sports is our #1 goal, so we drop a new episode each Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or the podcatcher of your choice. For more info about the show, to meet the hosts, or to partner with us on future episodes, please visit TalkBackFanTalk.com. We really enjoy hearing your take on the world of sports, even when you disagree. After all, this show is dedicated to you, the fans. So get direct access to us on Twitter using @TalkBackJustin and @TalkBackEric. Check out our corporate feed on Twitter and Instagram using the handle @TalkBackFanTalk. We hope you have a great week. We'll talk back at you next time.
Bye.